Welcome to another Online Personals Want CEO interview. We're joined by Alex Harrington today, who is the CEO and founder of MeetMoi. Welcome to the interview, Alex.
Thanks, Mark. Pleased to be here.
So it's our first interview. I'd love to capture your founding story. How did you start? How did you come to start MeetMoi?
Well, actually, I'm not the founder. I was brought in about a little less than 3 years ago to work with the founding team to grow the company. The company was founded by Andrew Weinrich and Jeremy Levy. Andrew was the founding CEO and a thought leader originally in social networking, and just a serial entrepreneur on the New York startup scene. Andrew notably wrote the original patent for social networking, which is presently held by Mark Pincus and Reid Hoffman of Zynga and LinkedIn, respectively. So he's sort of saw social networking coming a long time ago, and also saw the disruptive nature of mobile, and sort of foresaw back in 2007 that mobile was going to create opportunities for disruption in all types of industries, and saw dating as a big a field that could benefit consumers and potentially disrupt the status quo in terms of the business landscape.
Wasn't he also the fellow behind 6 Degrees?
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
He founded the first social network of scale called 6 Degrees, that's the circumstances under which he wrote the patent, which is now called the 6 Degrees patent. And that company was sold in January of 2000, right before the bubble burst. So that was a fortuitous timing.
So MeetMoi's genesis started in what year?
Around 2007.
5 years ago. Got it. And how did it evolve up to the point you took over?
Well, it started. Of course, mobile landscape has been reinvented probably 4 or 5 times since the company was conceived. I think when Andrew first started off, I think he'd envisioned it as a sort of a texting based interface. Then I think they quickly realized that the opportunity really was on the mobile web, and then the app ecosystem, of course, was born subsequent to that. And so our evolution has sort of migrated with the evolution of the mobile space. We launched our mobile web service in 2008. That's still going strong, and more recently have built out our service on apps. And I think the vision that the company had, which was, how do you not necessarily improve on online dating, but how do you create a new category where you're trying to introduce people in real life? How do you improve real life meeting, or the facility with which people meet in real life? That was what the goal of the company was, and actually the app ecosystem provided the technology infrastructure and, of course, the distribution. Enough people are using it that I'd say in the last 12 months we've had an opportunity really to realize the full vision of what the company had been founded to do, which was make it easy for people to meet in real life.
How would you categorize MeetMoi then? It's not internet dating. It is what?
Well, we use the online dating category as our touchstone. And I think one of the challenges when you're doing something new is, how do you come up with a label that's familiar enough that people will understand it, but novel enough to differentiate yourself. And we've referred to ourselves as a mobile matchmaker, but it's an ongoing process to define exactly what our category is. I mean, social discovery is also a good label as an industry term, but not particularly helpful when you're talking to consumers.
How's MeetMoi doing now?
We're doing great. We're in expansion mode. We're well capitalized. we really see it sort of almost like as a new day, like at the starting gate, because we've only recently built out our apps to be completely fully featured and the sort of commercial build of them, and so now we're really just building scale and growing the team, and this summer is going to be a big let's say rebirth for the company in terms of creating a higher profile and getting a significantly larger audience.
What platforms are you on right now? You've got Android, iPhone.
That's correct.
An iPad? Is there an iPad app yet?
There isn't a dedicated iPad app. No.
You on BlackBerry?
No, we serve BlackBerry users by having a capable mobile web platform.
And was it developed entirely in-house? I guess. How are you splitting the in-house versus outsourcing at this stage?
Well, we do use outsource development help for just to extend our capabilities, but pretty much everything has been built in-house, which on mobile is quite an accomplishment because you're operating on so many different platforms. So we maintain our Android, our iPhone, and our mobile web business in-house. And the mobile web, I should say, there are really multiple mobile web products because you need to be able to accommodate BlackBerry browsers as well as iPhone and Android browsers.
Where are you finding the new members then? How do you market out to them?
Well, we acquire users principally through mobile, and I'd say though the specific sources are proprietary, I would say it's probably not so much different than what is typical in the industry. And I think what differentiates us is that our focus is the dedication that we have to acquiring users mobily for a mobile dedicated product.
How would you describe MeetMoi as differentiated from the competitors?
Well, I think there are a number of people that have taken an approach to mobile, which is that are natively online services that have taken an approach to mobile and built quite nice mobile apps. And in general, their approach to mobile is this app is going to be so great that it will be almost as good as our online experience. And so though they may build in features that are specifically geared to mobile, like location sensitivity, to the extent that it's not the main platform which their users that have been sort of habituated to use, and a minority of the community might be kind of using those features which are not present on the web, they're sort of natively limited in terms of how they can take advantage of mobile. And the way we've always thought about it is that's natively mobile, that where your location is tracked in real time, and so that we can provide the best possible location sensitive matches. I mean, if you don't know your users' locations in real time, the location information is worse than useless because it's misleading. And so a lot of competitors haven't quite got that. It's sort of a token gesture towards, recording location, and users have responded accordingly in the sense that they may use the mobile application, but they use it the same way that they use the web, and they don't necessarily use the natively location based features.
Have you dealt with women differently than guys, or is it the same for everybody when it comes to geolocation?
I think for us, like most dating services, you design the service to be sensitive to the concerns of your female users, because your male users are more tolerant of, privacy and safety concerns. And so, I mean, I think that's we have a lot of focus groups for women to determine just how to tailor the product to their needs.
How's the wingman feature working out for you?
It's great. One of the challenges that dating sites have had is that people haven't wanted to invite their friends, and our goal was to make, one of our objectives was to make dating more social, or the application of technology to dating to make that more social. Dating in the real world, meeting people in the real world, is a social activity. You do bring your friends when you go out to meet people, to parties, to clubs, to bars. You're not embarrassed about having your friends there. In fact, they're there to support you. In online, in the sort of bizarro universe of online dating, it's a completely solitary experience, and it's one-to-one interactions, and that's not really natural, or it's not really the way things work in the real world. So we wanted to map our product to be able to support the way people interact in the real world. So if I go out with my friends, it's a real life problem that if I get matched with one person and I'm in a group of 2 or 3, that's not really going to be a suitable match. I want to meet if I'm a group of guys looking to meet a group of girls, just meeting one isn't going to do it. So I want to be introduced to another group of girls. So that's the product benefit, but it also has a marketing benefit, which is it's a rationale for people to perceive the product as being more social, because it natively is, and also that they have a real rationale just to invite their friends, other than just simply to unlock a feature or to avoid paying. I mean, this is actually has a product benefit to invite your friends. The product is similar to most viral services. The product is better with your friends present.
How are you monetizing at this stage?
Well, we've always had a paywall since the inception of the service, and it's in much the same place that it is for most traditional online dating services. Namely, if you want to initiate an email to another user's inbox, and you're not both like in the same place at the same time, through the introductions that we make, that you have to become a premium member. And so that, on our iPhone and Android apps, that is a $20 a month service.
And are you finding people are sticking around for the typical 3 months, or how's the behavior a little different than iDating? Typically it's 3 months with internet dating sites.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing better than that. I think we're not. I think the potential is, or at least what we see in our product is a potential that is far greater than that. I mean, the way that we'd like people to use our product is not as sort of an episodic approach to. I want to go on a sort of dating binge for a couple of months and meet a bunch of people, and then, because it's a meaningful investment of time and effort, that I'm going to, kind of, opt out after some period of time. The way our product works is we're making introductions to you, and you don't have to do a whole lot other than just view the introductions and make a decision on whether you want to act on them, or you can ignore them. And the difference there is because it's a more passive experience, or it permits a more passive interaction. The way we'd like people to use our product is as a utility to support them in their dating life, and that they could use that for the entire duration of their dating life, which might be, the decade from when they graduate from college uh, to when they, meet someone and settle down. And that they may not be paid during that whole time, but they would be active users of the service. So that's the potential that we see. We're not quite there yet, but that's what we're gunning for.
And how does the matchmaking work? What are you matching on? Are you going into personality profiling in the future, do you think?
We keep our profiles short and sweet. So, our goal is to introduce people to quality matches and to learn about people's preferences as they as they give us feedback. Right now, because it's on mobile, because people originate their profiles on mobile, we don't want to give people elaborate personality tests. People just simply don't want to invest that amount of time, and it's just sort of inconsistent with our product mantra, which is that it should be easy to set up a profile, that you should not have to invest a huge amount of your personal time. And so, I think our matches are based on a fairly brief set of preferences right now that users express, and over time we're going to learn and improve them, I think there's a lot of skepticism in the market in general that those elaborate personality tests really work. And what we're about is, I think what we're about is by making it really easy to meet people in person, our expectation that meeting people in person is really the easiest way to determine what someone's personality type is. And if you can make that easier and make it possible for people to meet a lot of people in real life, then you needn't do as much filtering online with processes that may or may not be actually on target.
Have you seen much difference in the behaviors between people across different platforms? So iPhone to iPhone users, Android to Android users. Do people behave differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's certainly differences in the types of users on, say, for example, Android and iPhone. I mean, iPhones are expensive, and so it tends to be a more affluent user on the iPhone. The app ecosystem on iPhone is mostly a paid ecosystem, whereas on Android there's a lot of freeware. And so users on Android are more resistant to paying because there are more free alternatives. That's between Android and iPhone, and on the mobile web, what we're seeing is there's this whole ecosystem of people who don't yet have smartphones. So that's another group entirely. So. Yes, I mean there's a lot of segmenting that you can do when you're operating on multiple platforms, and absolutely you can identify different behaviors.
And so, actually, how are you monetizing on the mobile web then? In terms of how you're accepting payment modes?
We use carrier billing and credit card.
That's interesting. Do people enter their credit cards, or do they prefer to go through the carrier?
Well, we get a lot more, let's say, lower friction conversion on carrier billing without question. But we do see quite a lot of credit card revenue as well. And part of it is, we present it. We have some algorithms to sort of determine which payment method suits the user, and then also if they fail on one, we present the other.
Of course, you'd rather take the credit card if you'll be paying out quite so much. What a few years ago it used to be 50% that the carriers were taking, of course, for on-deck apps. What are they taking now, roughly? Are they more in the Apple realm?
Well, they're moving in that direction for sure, but it's still very tentative. I definitely think the carriers understand now that it's not sustainable to be as grabby on the revenue share as they have been historically. They were the only game in town at some point, and now they're not. But the evolution to higher payouts has been a slow one, and but I think they realize that if they want quality publishers, as they refer to them, if they want content providers that are of the highest quality, that they have to share more, or they have to take less of the revenue share.
What would you like to see them take? What do you think is reasonable? Are you happy to pay 30% to Apple?
Well, I mean, happy is the wrong word. I think willing is a better word. I think, uh, I think ultimately once the market becomes competitive, it's going to converge to, the place probably in the same zone as where credit card is. I think that's probably a long way away, but there are services that facilitate credit card transactions, and you keep generally north of 90%. I think that's the long-term direction of things. I think in the short term, seeing revenue shares of 80% is big progress. The reason why I'm willing to pay 30% for iTunes Connect is because they've built a community of users that pay, that the transaction interface is relatively frictionless. The reporting and payment is clear and fast. So I mean, there are a whole bunch of you know benefits that they built into their ecosystem that make it worthwhile. If you look at Google Checkout, by contrast, it takes the same percentage. They haven't yet built continuity billing. The billing failures are significantly higher than the billing failures, which I don't really understand why, but they are significantly higher on Google Checkout than on iTunes. And so, I'm resistant or less. I see Google Checkout as being overpriced, but iTunes can get away with that kind of pricing because simply they've built the best mobile billing interface out there.
So Google isn't doing the month to month yet.
No, you can't. There's no continuity billing in Google Checkout in the App Store. They have it as a mobile web or a web-based Google Checkout product, but in Google Play or Android Play or whatever it's presently called, it's not. It's a transactional billing, one time.
Do you think BlackBerry is going to be on the radar in the future?
Well, I'm sorry to say that I think I don't have high hopes for it. I mean, I certainly don't have a crystal ball, and perhaps I'm not as knowledgeable as people who've been tracking it very closely. But it doesn't. It feels like it's riding off into the sunset, and so we don't have any uh, foreseeable intentions of building out for that platform.
What's your vision of the future? Where's MeetMoi going to be in a year's time?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to our I think we'll be more or less the company we are now. We'd like to have a significantly larger audience concentrated in urban areas. I think our our focus historically has not been to geo target very intensively. I think in a year's time we'd like to have a really strong New York audience base, San Francisco, Chicago, LA, Austin, places like that. So that's going to be a big focus in the coming year. And because that's so much of what we offer as an app and what differentiates us. having, though we have a large audience, it's just very widely distributed. And I think, so that's going to be a big focus going forward. We'd also just like to have a lot more brand recognition than we do now. I mean, our legacy approach has been direct marketing, which just doesn't, it's not very brand building. And I think going forward, we're going to be doing, kind of a broader mix of marketing that builds more brand awareness.
Do you think you'll go into the real world advertising realm?
Well, we've already done some event-based marketing and, sweepstakes and contests, and though there's always an online component of that, there's also an offline. So there will be some offline marketing, but I'd say the bulk of it will be online.
You typically PPC heavy?
We do a little bit of everything.
You mentioned the geographic spread. Are the majority of your users North American?
They are. That's a big opportunity for the company is growing overseas. We had we have a really strong base of users in Brazil. I should say small relative to our North American base, but very active. And we've seen really big opportunities for acquisition in Europe and in Asia. So I think though we may not be at scale a year from now in those markets, I think we'll be significantly geared up to take advantage of those opportunities.
Alex Harrington, you're the CEO of MeetMoi. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mark.